Well, you know what sound that is, folks. You betcha it's another noon whistle. I'm Chris Trottier, and I am here with Mr. Austin Thorson, tech ed teacher at Elkhorn Area High School. He is primarily an autos teacher. We are without Mr. John Anzalone, who's enjoying the warmth of Florida, but we're lucky to have Mr. Thorson. Austin, welcome to the noon whistle.
Thanks for having me.
So, Austin, let's jump right in because we've known each other now. It's going on about 11 years, and you have a great story to tell. And not many people realize this. Even some of our business partners don't realize that we have probably the top automotive program in the state of Wisconsin, if not in the Midwest. So, talk a little bit about where the program was at when you started, and where it's at now.
Sure, no problem. When I took over, this is my 12th school year. I've been here. My 13th school year. I've been here 12 full years. And when I took over mid-year in a year. The other teacher that was here had another opportunity. So he kind of left mid-semester, kind of left the program kind of in a weird spot when he walked away. And I would definitely say, kind of just traditionally looking at tech ed in general, there wasn't a huge push to try to grow or expand tech ed maybe in just the school districts in general. Kind of started. We had a nice shops facility to start with. We had a nice set of hand tools, but kind of on a rebuild pretty much was where I was at. We had a little bit of everything. It was kind of a non-directional type classes. It was just, hey, you want to take auto, come on down. So we spent quite a bit of time revamping curriculum, kind of setting up a career pathway has been the biggest thing I've really spent a lot of time with. And then, like you had said, right around when you came in and took over as principal with us here at the high school, I think it's really when we saw the whole tech ed department in general finally get a vision. All right, this is important. Let's build from there. And then over these last few years, the big thing that we've highlighted is, having an auto 1, 2, and 3. So kind of having just a really nice structure for students. This year, we're actually able to bring back air-cooled engines. So we're teaching a small engines course. And then we do have a more of a life skills class where it's consumer auto, car ownership more. And we get incredible enrollment in that class still as well. Last year, just in request in the auto area, when I started here, I was teaching 8, 9 different classes. Maybe I'd get 15, 20. Some classes have 30 in it, which was wild. And then there was no consistency. We've seen a consistency now for many years. And I think the awesome part was last year we had over 215 requests for taking some type of auto-based class here at the school, which I think is really incredible in a building of just over 900 students. In that short amount of time that we've been here, we started in auto clubs. Thursday nights, we do open shop night. We've been able to give kids an opportunity to safely learn and practice and hone their skills here. It's really expanded from that. We do a car show now. We're doing competitions. We're doing a little bit of everything. We've had a couple student teachers come through our program now, and they're starting, actually my student teacher just said this year's rebuilding an auto program at another school, which is really awesome to see. I think it's a wonderful thing to keep embedding this into all schools. I think is key.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, I don't think people realize, you have your Auto 1, your Auto 2. Obviously, you're leaning into Gateway Technical College, you're leaning into industry. Talk a little bit, you mentioned the competition piece, like what happens talk a little bit about the competitions and then talk about kind of like the shop night and how you see that being an integral part of your overall vision for the auto program.
So I've been a big believer in that the kids need to have practical experience. And I think that's where auto clubs have always been a really nice piece. In our Auto 3 class, in our Auto 3, we run like a mock service center. We're by no means a shop or anything, but we're taking on live work with real problems. I think right now I've got a Napa delivery car in for a power steering pump and lines. We just put struts, did tires. We did tie rods on one of our school cars that we just got donated from CUNIS, which we were super grateful to have. And we're just kind of buttoning it up so it'll be really good and reliable for many years. We've got an old tractor. We're doing a tractor restoration. We're actually doing a crossover project with Ag right now with that. And I just really believe that if working on real live stuff is going to give you that ability to take, not that the classroom's not important, the theoretical side, and actually apply it. And I think that's where auto clubs really bridged a really good gap.
Got it.
On Thursday nights, it's allowed us to be able to bring in students' cars. It gives us more than, even in trimesters, which is wonderful having a 70-minute class period. It's still not quite enough time to do bigger projects that maybe we want to achieve. And I don't want to race through them. I want kids to actually be like, all right, this is why we're doing that. That's why this component does that certain, job on the vehicle. It gives us that time to do that. realistically, I'd love to say it starts at the end of the school day on Thursday and I leave at 5 o'clock. That's not totally the case.
It's not true.
That's not true at all.
No.
We're here late a lot because projects, as kids need to learn, they sometimes can go sideways. You know, a broken bolt can turn a 30-minute project into an all-day event.
I'm guessing you also work in summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, so you got the auto club, you know, the car show, you're bringing in the community. You mentioned Cunis, who just donated a car. Thank you to John O'Brien and the Cunis family of dealerships for helping us out and supporting us. You've taken kids over to Cunis. Talk a little bit about how the competitions, like for somebody who's never seen a competition, like what are you competing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And your kids, let's talk about real quick. I'll give you a shout out. Elkhorn kids do very well in local, regional, and national competitions. But go ahead, talk a little bit about the competitions.
So I would say probably 3-4 years into teaching, I finally kind of got everything going. I kind of got my wheels underneath me. You know, I went to school to be a tech ed teacher. They don't teach anything about cars. Cars for me just was a passion outside of school while I was younger. I grew up in Appleton. You know, Appleton at the time had an automotive program, but it wasn't at my school. So once I felt like I was established, I was like, all right, it's time to start looking at competitions. I want to get kids out of our building. And I always tell everyone, we just actually went to a competition over the last weekend. And as I always tell them, you know, I'm just proud that they're doing it. You're getting yourself out of your comfort zone, and let's just go see what you know. And if you win something, fantastic. That's, you know, it's not all about winning. It's about growing your knowledge. For years, there was like the AAA competitions and those types of things. When I started getting to a point to go to competitions, those weren't really around anymore. Skills USA was still very prominent. It still is today. And then the Universal Technical Institution has offered the Top Tech Challenge, which that's where we really started going. I had the rep in here. He's like, hey, we do a competition down in Lisle, Illinois. Why don't you bring 2 kids down and see how they do? And I was like, that sounds great. So I actually it was Ethan Branford and Alex Figueres. There were 2 auto kids. They were really motivated. They loved cars. The 2 of them together were crazy. So I was like, you guys want to try it? And they're like, they both looked at me and they're like, well, what do we got to lose? I was like, sounds like a good field trip day. So we went down, and kind of all automotive competitions are kind of sectioned into 2 pieces. There's going to be for sure a written like technical exam that they'll have to take. Okay. So it's going to be more of like the ASC certification style questioning, you know, very intricate things. And then there's always a technical side. So they're actually doing hands-on things that they could do is like, they always seem to have something like brakes, measuring backlash on a differential, scanning a car with a scan tool. We're definitely seeing with like the electric car push now, we're seeing a lot of electrical. The one we were at this weekend was no different. They had quite the circuit. They had not only built the circuit from a diagram, they had to test it. So then they'll compete in different categories. The Universal Technical Institution ones we go to, and we're in the Technicians of Tomorrow, which will be at the Greater Milwaukee Auto Show, our team base. So it's another 2 students.
That's cool.
Which is nice. I think that's a big piece of it. I think being able to bounce ideas off each other, even in industry. We were at Cunis practicing for our Technicians of Tomorrow, and that was something the Master Tech Foreman over there, Eric, talked a lot about. He goes, you got to have a good team. You got to have a good support team to be successful in a shop setting, which I totally agree with. I think is really huge. But then they work their way through it and they compile their scores. So actually this last Saturday, we went down to the Top Tech Challenge at Lisle, Illinois. I took 2 teams down there, and I had a student do an automotive, which was like you've never taken an auto class. So I had Riley a day do that one. Out of 11 students, he's had very little auto training in his school. He tied there was a 3-way tie for 5th place. And Ben Reed and Hunter Vierick and Alyssa Day and Silas Olin were my 2 teams. They had to take a written exam. There were 22 teams from 3 different states. And they only take 15 teams from the written score down. We took 5th and 6th on the written score. So we made everybody into the shop. And I actually just got their final scores today because they only do top 10 prizes. Alyssa and Silas took 2nd place. They missed 1st by 1 point.
Oh, no.
And which was, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's amazing. Yeah.
They both won $7,500 scholarships. They got $1,200 worth of tools and won the shop about an $800 toolbox. So it's about $17,000 worth of stuff they won.
Wow.
And I actually haven't even told Ben and Hunter this yet, but they took 13th or 12th, and they haven't even finished Auto 2. So, I mean, they are tracking to be super successful in the future as well. And we've done that many times. I think back to Alex and Ethan. Alex called me the other day. He was telling me about a project they were working on. I still hear from all these graduated alumni students. And he's like, man, it's just crazy to think you're still doing that. And we've won so many times and taken 3rd and 2nd. And it's been a really great experience. Skills has been no different. We've had lots of students compete in skills. We've taken 3rd at the state level twice. And this year is the first year we've done that Technicians of Tomorrow competition. And Alyssa and Silas, they had to take a written MLR, so the maintenance and light repair exam. Then they took their 2 scores together and they stacked it up against all schools, kind of like Southern Wisconsin. And we finished in the top 8. So they only took 8 teams, and now they get to work with a dealership. So Cunis is sponsoring us, and so is Wild Subaru. They're sponsoring us with the car Subaru, and Cunis is, they're calling it like your shop or like your station dealer. And it's been awesome. We've been working with Justin Hoffman over there and Eric, one of the master techs, and John O'Brien, and they've been doing, I mean, I'm learning stuff. It's been wonderful, but it's been a really cool experience. I think competitions are a huge piece. I think for some of these kids, you know, auto club competitions, that's their sport. That's their, you know, that's their thing they're going to hang their hat on. They're super proud of, and they're going to look back at that someday and be like, wow, I can't believe I did those things.
So you mentioned, and I don't think people, you know, I've sat in awards nights and I'm aware of your program, and, you know, our community, you know, in 2013 made a huge investment, you know, 2013, they made an investment in, you know, not only a leadership standpoint, but then shortly thereafter, an investment in our career technical education facilities, manufacturing, woods, welding, and autos obviously received some money. And we really, you know, wanted to set our program into the future. Talk a little bit just quickly about, you mentioned some of the people have no idea how much money kids or even equipment these competitions bring into your program.
For sure. Competitions are huge. There's so much free money. So like Universal, like I talked about the UTI one down at the top tech, they have the same rules they've had since I started going in like 2015, 16. So I think it was the first year I went with Alex and Ethan. And first place is $10,000 scholarships for each student, tools, toolbox, $7,500 for second for each student for scholarships, and then tools as well. Third is $5,000, and fourth through 10th is $1,000 scholarship. It is specific to their school. We have actually found that some other schools are honoring those scholarships as well, which I think is really cool. And I think it's just really awesome that a school's like, hey, we're willing to give out this kind of money if you're willing to come down. At the skills level, we've seen that type of scholarship level. We've seen $5,000, $10,000 scholarships, no problem. The Technicians of Tomorrow one that we're in right now as well, I just started getting it. Like, there's not just like, it's not just like a scholarship. They've got tooling, they've got maybe tool vouchers, experiences for kids to go work in dealerships, those types of things. I mean, it's even like with Cunis right now, like I really got back to working with Cunis this year. They came in, and that's kind of what got us into this Technicians Tomorrow competition. It's just interesting how a business partner, I mean, I've worked with so many business partners, and how something always really cool comes of it, and how willing our local businesses are to work with us. But even with that, like Silas, who's competing on that team, has been offered a job. They've hired 2 other students this year just from coming into our shop, and they're offering to pay for them to go to school or help give school reimbursement. They're offering trainings right there at the dealerships. Even like with our smaller businesses in town, I think of like our tractor that we're doing here, like tires. We have no tooling to do the tires or anything. You know, it costs us thousands of dollars to do it. You know, I stopped at Pete's Tire, and Mike was like, no problem, bring him on in. He goes, I'd love to teach these guys how to do it. EAHS Automotive did the exact same thing with the radiator. You know, they just want to be involved. They think it's super awesome, the things we're doing. And I think it's just so, I mean, the money's always great. The scholarships are a wonderful thing, but I think the relationships these students are building, and they can go to your local shops, parts stores, whatever it is. They know these students by name. It's just creating kind of a culture around it all, I think, which is huge. I think it doesn't just end in the shop. It's a community. Yeah. It really does take the whole community. And we even do certifications here in our shop. We do 5 national NC3 certifications, and I'm very fortunate that the state does the Act 59 grant, where we get, for every dual certified senior, we get up to, I think it's up to $2,000.
Yeah.
And last year we brought in like 30 grand into the school just through certifications. I would do them no matter what. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great industry credential. But to be able to, I always tell these kids, you're investing in your own program. You know, you're giving this back, and it's going to allow future generations to be able to work and grow on these newer cars that we don't have the tooling for right now.
Well, I think when you sum it up, right? Like when you think about, I try and sum up in how do we communicate and message this to our publics in a simple 30-second digestible way. Like, think about what we're doing. Look at it through a resume, right? Just a resume. You have your education piece. Okay, those are pretty standard. But then you have your certifications. We're giving Snap-on certifications. Then you have your experiences. Yeah. And then you have, then you have your other experiences, like and your references and your strategic relationships and we just keep building this resume for kids that's really going to try and set them apart from any candidate when they go into an industry and apply, when either in high school for a youth apprentice or afterwards.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is any tools, any foundational tool we can give them when they're in high school is huge. And I think when the community passed that referendum years ago and allowed us to bring in welding, woods, construction, machining, amped up auto, I mean, it's been the best thing, I think, for the whole community in general. I
agree.
We've had not only great experiences with business partners, but I see students who are excited to be here again. And, I think of myself when I sit in their shoes when I was in high school, that was when CT was kind of the modular, wasn't as important. You go to college. Not that college isn't important. I think there's an educational path for everyone. And I tell kids that in the auto program. Education's key. It may be an on-the-job training, an apprenticeship, maybe a dealership's training you to go to do warranty certification or something on a vehicle, or maybe they want to pay for you to go to a one-year tech school. It's just knowing what education for you is best, and that's what fits. Nobody wants to go to work and be miserable. If you like what you're doing, it's not work anymore, right?
That's right. All right. Well, we've come to the end, so we always like to close before we head back to work and wait for that noon whistle to send us back to work. Let's talk a little bit. Let's end with, and we like to do shout outs and thank yous, but we're going to pivot a little bit. What would be, if you could have any car, what would be your car of choice? No money, you get your pick.
That's tough.
I have mine.
I don't know. I grew up with Volkswagens. I think that's what really got me into cars, which most people would say is ridiculous. And I've had quite a few of them. I think the vehicle I've always been trying to chase after is I'd love to get like an oval split back windowed Beetle, like an old 50s or 60s Beetle.
Awesome. Mine would be like a 72 Chevelle SS. All I see is like that red with the white SS stripes going up the top, convertible. 454. I already got goosebumps. So, all right, Austin. Well, hey, we don't want to take too much of your time. We know you're a busy man. Thank you for all you do for kids. Thank you for all the investment you put in inside this normal school day, but most importantly, outside of it. Again, if anybody wants to partner up and looking for employees, Austin has the top automotive program in the state of Wisconsin. Thank you, Austin. And I think it's about time we head back to work. So have a good day, Austin, and thanks for being on the Noon Whistle.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
It's that time. See you later.
See ya.